There's a quiet crisis facing men over 60, and almost no one is talking about it. I've seen it unfold not through headlines or medical charts, but through the eyes of my patients. Men who were once confident, grounded, and full of life, now sitting across from me feeling distant, discouraged, and unsure of where their vitality has gone. I'm Dr. William Mark, a board-certified urologist with over 30 years of experience in men's health. And what I've come to realize is that for many older men, the erosion of sexual health doesn't begin with a major diagnosis or some dramatic decline. It begins in private, in quiet routines that seem harmless, until they're not. The topic we're about to explore is one that carries shame, silence, and misunderstanding. Masturbation. Specifically, the way most men continue this habit as they age, without realizing how their bodies, hormones, and energy systems are changing. For some, it's a daily ritual they don't think twice about. For others, it's a secret struggle they've never talked about. But here's the truth. How you approach self-pleasure in your 60s, 70s, and beyond matters deeply. It can either support your vitality or slowly drain it away. In this video, we're going to break the silence and uncover the 5 biggest masturbation mistakes that men over 60 make. Habits that can sabotage blood flow, weaken pelvic control, lower testosterone, and dull the very spark that makes you feel like a man. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness. It's about giving you the tools and knowledge to reclaim your strength from the inside out. So if you've been wondering why things feel different, if you felt a drop in energy, performance, or confidence, stay with me. Because the answers aren't complicated, they're just hidden. And once you see them, everything can start to shift. Let's begin. 1. Using porn as a crutch, not for pleasure. It starts innocently enough. You're alone, maybe a little bored, maybe missing someone, maybe just passing the time. You open your laptop or phone and watch a quick video, something familiar, something stimulating. At first, it feels harmless. It's private, it's easy, it doesn't involve anyone else. But what begins as a moment of release can slowly become something much more dangerous when it becomes a habit of emotional escape. I've seen this happen over and over with my older patients. Men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who use pornography not out of desire, but out of loneliness. And while that may seem like a small detail, it makes all the difference. One of my patients, Thomas, 68, lost his wife to cancer 5 years ago. He told me that watching adult content helped him feel less alone. But he also noticed that his desire for real intimacy had faded. Erections weren't as strong. Arousal took longer, and when he finally had a chance to be close with someone new, he couldn't respond. What he didn't realize is that his brain had been rewired. That's what chronic porn use does. It desensitizes the dopamine pathways in your brain. The more you consume, the less sensitive you become. What used to excite you no longer works. You chase stronger stimulation, longer sessions, and in the process, natural arousal starts to disappear. And it's not just physical, it's emotional. You stop feeling present in your body. You stop associating intimacy with connection. It becomes mechanical, distant, even hollow. Many men start thinking they've just gotten too old. But that's not true. Your body still wants to perform. Your system still works. It's just been numbed. And the tragedy is that most men never connect the dots. They think their decline is inevitable, when in fact, it's been accelerated by years of overstimulation without real presence. If you've been using porn out of habit, boredom, or emotional pain, it's not too late to change. Start by taking a break. Notice how your body responds. Pay attention to your energy, your mood, your sleep. It might feel uncomfortable at first. That's normal. But as your dopamine receptors begin to reset, you'll start feeling more like yourself again. Your desire returns, your connection deepens, and most importantly, your sense of masculinity, of presence, of self, starts to come back online. This isn't about judgment, it's about liberation. The goal isn't to remove pleasure. It's to restore it, to help you feel again, fully, naturally, like the man you still are. So if this message speaks to you, if you've recognized this habit in your own life, don't ignore it, because the longer it continues, the more it costs. Your strength, your confidence, your relationships. But with awareness and intention, you can reverse course. You can reclaim what's quietly been slipping away, one choice at a time. 2. Ignoring blood flow, the silent circulation killer. Let me tell you about Richard, a 73-year-old retired Air Force mechanic who came to my office with a quiet resignation. He sat across from me and said, "Doc, I guess things just don't work the way they used to." He thought his erection problems were simply due to age. That belief, so common among older men, is one of the most dangerous lies out there. Because while time does bring changes, it's not time itself that causes the trouble. It's what time allows to slip under the radar. Things like poor circulation. Your erection is not just a function of desire, it's a function of blood flow. Without healthy arteries, without open pathways delivering oxygen-rich blood to the penis, nothing happens. That's not a defect. That's biology. And here's what most older men don't know. The penis is often the first place circulation problems show up. Long before a heart attack or stroke, your body whispers a warning: weak erections, delayed response, loss of morning wood. It's not about arousal, it's about blood. Richard had no idea that the way he was masturbating, fast, disconnected, rushed, was quietly damaging the very system he relied on for sexual performance. He never stretched, never breathed deeply, never gave his body a chance to activate the pathways of circulation. Over time, that routine, repeated without awareness, led to what I call microtrauma. Small tears, reduced tissue elasticity, stiffening of blood vessels, nothing catastrophic, but cumulative, and enough to cause real, measurable decline. The problem is that most men never realize it. They blame themselves. Or worse, they stop trying altogether. They give up. They accept the decline. But what if I told you that circulation can be improved? That even in your 70s or 80s, your body is capable of better blood flow if you simply change the way you engage with it? Start with something simple. Slow down. Stretch before and after. Use warm compresses. Engage your breathing. Treat the moment as a warm-up for your entire vascular system. Because that's exactly what it is. Every stroke, every breath, every movement sends a message to your arteries. Wake up, move, expand. And when you do this consistently, your system begins to respond. Richard was skeptical, but he tried. Just 10 minutes of gentle movement paired with focused breath work. Within 3 weeks, he reported firmer erections, quicker arousal, and more confidence. Not because he took a pill, not because he tried harder, but because he stopped treating his body like a machine. He started treating it like a living system that needed care. Blood flow isn't just about performance, it's about presence, it's about trust. And it's about giving your body the attention it needs to function the way it was meant to. So, if you've been ignoring this aspect of your health, if you've been rushing through your routines, thinking speed equals relief, I urge you to pause. Breathe. Feel. Because every time you engage your circulation, you're not just investing in sexual health. You're investing in your heart, your brain, your entire body. And that investment pays off in more ways than you can imagine. Number 3, skipping pelvic floor engagement. The forgotten muscle group. Walter was 66, tall and broad-shouldered, a retired trucker with hands like shovels and a voice that filled the room. He looked strong, the kind of man you'd trust to lift a car or split a tree. But he sat in my office with a different kind of vulnerability. "Doc," he said, "I feel like I've lost control down there. The strength, the timing, it's just not there anymore." What Walter was experiencing wasn't just aging, it was pelvic floor atrophy, a quiet weakening of the muscles that support everything from your bladder to your erections. And almost no one talks about it. You don't see your pelvic floor. You don't flex it in the mirror. And yet, This hidden network of muscles is essential to your sexual strength. It controls how firm your erection gets, how long it lasts when you climax, and even how well you recover afterward. Ignore it and you lose more than just control. You lose connection. The problem is, most older men never activate it. They masturbate lying down, shoulders slouched, breath shallow, watching a screen. There's no awareness, no engagement. And over time, that lack of engagement causes the pelvic floor to weaken. The same way your arms would shrink if you never lifted anything, your pelvic floor atrophies when it's not used. I asked Walter to try something strange. No screens, no rush. Just sit upright, breathe, and during self-pleasure, consciously contract the muscles around the base of the penis, like you're trying to stop the flow of urine. It's subtle, it's private, but it's powerful. Feels weird, he said. Try it anyway, I replied. 2 weeks later, he came back with eyes brighter than I'd seen. Doc, I didn't expect it to work, but it's like I've got my grip back, like my body's listening again. That's the magic of the pelvic floor. When you engage it, you begin to reconnect with your body from the inside out. You regain not just strength, but responsiveness, endurance, and confidence. And here's the best part. You don't need a gym. You don't need a trainer. You just need intention. 5 minutes a day. Contract, hold, release, repeat. Do it while brushing your teeth, while driving, even while walking. It's invisible, silent, but transformative. Too many men treat their bodies like machines, pushing, pulling, rushing through moments without presence. But your body isn't a machine. It's a living, breathing system that needs care. And your pelvic floor is at the core of that system. When you ignore it, you lose power. When you train it, you get that power back. And the shift isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's mental. It's the difference between feeling disconnected and feeling fully present in your own skin. Walter didn't just regain control, he regained pride. And that's what I want for you. Not just function, but fire. Not just performance, but presence. Because at this stage of life, your strength doesn't come from force. It comes from connection. And your pelvic floor is the foundation of that connection. Start today, quietly, privately, powerfully. The results may surprise you. 4. Not tracking frequency. The energy drain they never see coming. I once asked a patient in his early 70s a simple question. How do you feel after you finish? Not during. Not before. After. He paused, gave a half-hearted shrug, and said, tired, honestly, like I've given something away. That one sentence held more truth than he realized. His name was Gerald, 72, a retired engineer, sharp mind, steady demeanor. He wasn't dealing with a major illness. His tests were fine, but every week he told me the same thing. I'm exhausted, like I'm running on empty all the time. It wasn't until we talked about his routine that the picture became clear. Every morning, almost like clockwork, Gerald would start his day the same way. Masturbation. Not for pleasure, not for connection, just out of habit. I've done it this way for decades, he said. Didn't think twice about it. And that's exactly the problem. What worked at 30 doesn't work the same way at 70. As you age, your energy isn't as disposable. Testosterone doesn't bounce back as quickly. Dopamine, the pleasure chemical, takes longer to replenish. Zinc, essential for hormonal balance and sperm production, is slower to recover. And when you repeatedly deplete these resources without giving your body time to restore, you start running on fumes. Most men never track frequency. They don't connect the dots. They wonder why they're feeling low, sluggish, unmotivated, but never stop to consider whether they're simply burning out from inside. Every release costs energy, hormonal energy, neurological energy, emotional energy, and at a certain point, the cost becomes too high. I told Gerald to experiment, not to stop, just to space it out. Go from daily to 3 times a week. Give his body time to recover. Let the energy build back. 3 weeks later, he came back and said, I feel sharper, clearer, like I finally got some fuel in the tank. That wasn't magic. It was biology. The truth is, most older men never adjust. They keep acting like they're 35, thinking consistency equals strength. But in this stage of life, restraint is power. Intention is power. Knowing when to engage and when to rest, that's wisdom. It's not about guilt or suppression, it's about balance. Start tracking, not with an app, not with charts, just with awareness. Ask yourself after each time, how do I feel? Notice if the exhaustion is emotional, physical, or both. Start to recognize patterns. When you space things out, you may find that your desire actually increases. Your arousal becomes more intense, your connection to yourself more alive. There's another benefit too. When you don't ejaculate every day, your body redirects that energy. You may feel more focused, more driven. You may even notice your workouts feel stronger, your thoughts sharper. That's not a coincidence. That's recovery doing its job. So here's the challenge. For 1 week, track how often you self-pleasure. Then cut it by 1 or 2. See how you feel. You're not depriving yourself. You're optimizing. You're learning to treat your body like a precious engine, not a disposable tool. Because at this age, energy is your currency, and every moment you spend wisely builds momentum. Gerald thought he was just tired. What he was really experiencing was depletion. And by honoring that truth, he took his first real step toward reclaiming his strength. You can do the same. It starts by paying attention. 5. Treating it like a habit, not a ritual. The most overlooked yet powerful shift. There's a certain tone I hear from men when I ask about their self-pleasure habits. It's almost dismissive, like it's not worth discussing. I just do it when I feel like it, they'll say, as if it's no different than brushing their teeth. But what they don't realize is that this automatic, mechanical approach is often the final nail in the coffin for their sexual vitality. I call it the habit trap, and it's one of the most damaging mistakes older men make. When you treat self-pleasure as a habit instead of a ritual, something sacred is lost. The moment becomes flat, robotic, stripped of energy, presence, and meaning. You rush through it, barely connected to your body, your breath, or your sensations. And over time, that mindless repetition numbs the nervous system. Erections lose their strength. Orgasms lose their satisfaction. The emotional bond with your own body weakens. Take Harold, 74, a retired engineer who told me he felt like intimacy was just going through the motions. I do it, but I don't feel anything from it anymore, he said. What Harold didn't realize was that his body wasn't the problem, his attention was. He had turned a potentially restorative act into a mindless routine. No intention. No awareness. No connection. When I asked Harold to try something different, no screens, no distractions, just slow, intentional presence, he came back 2 weeks later with tears in his eyes. It felt like coming home, he told me. That's the difference between a habit and a ritual. A ritual invites your full presence. It brings meaning back into your touch. It connects your body and mind in a way that fuels both energy and emotion. Science backs this up. When self-pleasure is approached with mindfulness, studies show increased activation in brain regions tied to satisfaction, confidence, and even pain regulation. Your breath deepens. Circulation improves, your nervous system calms instead of spikes. It becomes not just an act of release, but an act of renewal. The shift is simple, but powerful. Slow down, breathe deeply, eliminate distractions, set a clear intention to feel, to connect, to nourish. When you turn your attention inward, your body responds in kind. Erections become more natural, sensation returns, and that quiet spark of confidence that you feared was gone, it starts to glow again. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do this every time. But when you begin treating self-pleasure as a form of care instead of convenience, something profound changes. You stop aging in the way the world tells you to. You start aging with awareness, grace, and power. This is the most overlooked mistake because it requires the deepest shift, not in your body, but in your relationship with it. And once you make that shift, you'll wonder why you ever settled for less. Now, in the final part of this message, we'll tie it all together. Because these 5 shifts are just the beginning. The real reward comes when you integrate them into a daily practice that supports your energy, your confidence, and your future. Let's move to the conclusion. After decades of sitting with men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s, I've heard one quiet confession again and again. I don't feel like myself anymore. Not because of illness, but because of something deeper, a slow fading of vitality they couldn't quite explain. And often it came back to the same few habits, repeated quietly over years. These 5 mistakes, using pornography as an emotional escape, ignoring blood flow, neglecting the pelvic floor, overdoing frequency, and treating self-pleasure as a routine, are not just small missteps. They gradually strip away your energy, sensitivity, and confidence, and most men don't realize it until the spark is nearly gone. But the truth is, it doesn't have to stay that way. You haven't lost your fire, you've just stopped feeding it the right way. Your body isn't broken, it's responsive. What it needs now isn't the same as what worked at 25, and that's not failure, that's biology. What matters is what you do with that knowledge today. I think of Elias, 69, who told me he felt emotionally numb. After just a few intentional changes, slowing down, breathing deeper, bringing awareness back to his body, he returned weeks later with more light in his eyes. I feel like I'm waking up again, he said. That's what I want for you. Not to go backward, but to move forward, stronger, wiser, more connected. Because this isn't just about sex, it's about identity, dignity, the quiet power of knowing you're still in control of your body and your life. So let this be your turning point. If any part of this message resonated with you, comment ready below. And stay with me, because in the next video, I'll guide you through a daily self-care ritual built specifically for men over 60. One that supports your hormones, your circulation, your pelvic strength, and your emotional vitality. You are not done. Your best chapter may still be ahead. Let's make sure it is.